Hello. So I'm going to be showing you how to make these wrist warmers. Each video will have one of the three patterns, but it actually makes two sizes. So this one here is the child small and medium. This one is the extra small and small for teenagers and adults. And this one here is the medium and the large, which is usually for larger adults or men. So as you can see here, this is made with the 3.5 and this is made with the 4mm. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start with a slip knot. So I always get the tail end here and the working yarn there, and then I just pick that up like that, and then I'm going to twist over so the tail end is over the top of the working yarn, and then grab the working yarn and pull it through that loop that my fingers created, and that's my slip knot. There are other methods online you might find easy. I know that way it's not the easiest for everyone, but it's one that I feel more comfortable doing, so that's the one I do. Okay, let's bring you in a little. Okay, so I don't like doing a chain to start because my work always ends up tighter with the chain, so I do the chainless start. Foundation chainless start. I'm not 100% sure of the name, but you'll see what I mean. But what it does is it creates the chain and the first row all in one go, so you're doing two rows at the same time basically. So what we're going to do is we're going to chain 2. My mind went blank then. Those who have been around in a while know that happens a lot. Right, once you chain 2, you're going to go back in to that first stitch, which was your slip knot stitch really. Well, the one next to your slip knot stitch. And you're going to yarn over, and then you're going to pull back through. But then what you're going to do is you need to create the chain first, and then that second row, or the first actual row. So you're going to yarn over and you're going to pull through just the first one, and that's now created your chain. And then you're going to yarn over and pull through both loops, and that's created your second row of stitches. Okay, so we're going to do that all along. So what you're going to do now, instead of going that first one, you'll see that there's a little V here. This is your normal stitch, your little V just there. You can see it's got 2 legs. And what we're going to do is go into that, and we're going to do the same thing again. So we're going to yarn over and pull through, then create your chain, so yarn over and pull through the 1, and then create the stitch, so yarn over and pull through the 2. Now the stitch we're creating for that second row is called the single crochet in US terms and the double crochet in the UK terms. And it's the only time that a whole row will be single crochet. After that we go into the pattern. So we're just going to keep doing this until we have 36 stitches. That's something I didn't mention. If you want to make them bigger or smaller, you want to do it in sets of 6, so 6 extra stitches for each one you do. Now obviously if you're going to create the chain and then do a row of single crochet or UK double crochet, you'd need that extra one for the turning. But you're going to turn these, you're going to join these up together in the round so that we work the whole thing in the round. But if you don't like doing this method of beginning, you can do it with just a chain and then join that and do a row of single crochet or UK double crochet, and then you'll get to the same place I will be after I've done my 36 here. Okay, I just prefer this because it gets a less tight finish, because even after all my years of crocheting I still can't get my chain to not be too tight. But, okay, so don't forget we're going to go into that new chain that we always created, picking up both legs, yarning over and pulling through, yarn over and pull through once for the chain, yarn over and pull through the 2 for the stitch. Okay, so just do that until you have 36 stitches, and I will meet you back here when I have my 36 and show you how we join it in the round, okay? Okay, so we've got our 36 starting row, so now we need to join it around. So if you just spread it out so you can make sure that it's all straight and not twisting around anywhere, and then just fold it in half, and that way you know you're not twisting it when you go through. Now when we're working, we're creating this bottom chain and then the second row. What we need to do is make sure that we're putting that second row as the row we're going to be working in. So you're going to twist it. Make sure you leave this working yarn above. So for me, I need to just turn that round so that it's that way round. So it's still folded in half, but now I've made sure I've got the stitches we want to work with at the top. So this is the top, this is the bottom. We want the stitches we're going to be working with, which was the single crochet, UK double crochet stitches at the top there. And then all we're going to do is go into that first stitch and slip stitch. That just joins it all in into the round. If you can get your hook around it. There we go. And that just makes sure there's no twist in your work, it's all straight. Okay, you may have a better method than that, but I find folding in half and making sure it's straight that way works better for me. Okay, so in that stitch we've just slip stitch into, all we're going to do is chain 3 and just so we chain 3. Now what we need to do is create our first shawl. So we are creating these shells along here, well on the bottom row, so here. And this row is our setup row for the pattern, so it's slightly different than the remainder of the rows that we're going to do. So what we're going to do is we're going to make into that same stitch where we've done the chain 3 and we slip stitch into, we're going to do 4 double crochets. That's UK treble crochets. So we're just going to yarn over, go into that stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through 2, and yarn over and pull through 2. That's your normal double crochet US and treble crochet UK. And we're going to do 4 of them, and what that's going to do with the chain 3 we already have, it's going to total 5 because the chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. So there we go, I have my 5. So with the chain 3 you now have shell of 5, and 5 shell pattern is the main thing we will be working this in, but to shape around the wrist we actually go to a 3 shell pattern, but I'll show you that when we get there. For now just worry about the 5 shell pattern, that's what we're setting up. Okay, so the next thing to do after doing the 5 double crochets, or the 4 double crochets and the chain 3 in this first instance, is we're going to skip 2 stitches, and into that third stitch we're going to do a single crochet. So that's go through the stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over and go through the 2 loops. UK, that is a double crochet for UK. Okay, so for US we're doing double crochets and single crochets, and for UK terms we're doing treble crochet and double crochet. Okay, so now we're going to create the next shell. So we're going to do 5 double crochets, but we're going to skip 2 stitches again and go into the third one. And now we're just going to do 5 double crochets into that stitch. And we're just going to repeat this around where we do a shell, skip 2, do a single crochet, skip 2 and do a shell. We're just going to do that all the way around. Hopefully you'll have yarn that feeds better than mine, because it's running away everywhere at the moment. So I've done my shell, I'm going to skip 2 and I'm going to single crochet, that's UK double crochet, into the next stitch, and then skip 2 and do 5 double crochets or 5 treble crochets for the UK. Sorry if you're working along with me and me saying numbers is putting you off. You could mute me for the end of the row if you like. This is all we're going to do around this whole row. Keep skipping 2. Don't forget to skip the 2 stitches because we need to skip them to have it spread out evenly. Because of the length of the shells, because of the length of the stitch, it's not decreasing in size, it's keeping the size that we want. Now if you've done this right, you will finish on a single crochet, UK double crochet and a skip 2. Make sure it's all turned the right way around. And now we're going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3. And just slip stitch in and just pull that out a minute to show you. So that's what we have so far. If you just fold it in half there, you can see we have 3 shells this side and 3 shells that side. We have a total of 6 shells for this particular size. Depending what size you're doing depends on how many shells you have, but for this one we have 6 to start with. Okay, the next row is the same basic row we will be using for most of the wrist warmer. We're going to be doing the 5 double crochets, that's UK treble crochets, and then the single crochet, which is a UK double crochet. So I'll just show you where they're all going to go. So this bit's important. I always start in the single crochet that we finished off in. So just take your hook back into that single crochet and slip stitch so that your hook is now sitting nicely in the middle of that single crochet. And say you happen to slip stitch across to the single crochet in front, if you always go to the one just slightly behind you. I mean, it may be that you can slip stitch and still land in that single crochet. I can't, so I have to move myself backwards into it slightly. But it doesn't affect work, and you can't see that we've gone backwards slightly once we carry on because we're doing shells in this row, so it will hide the little bump. So like we did before, we're going to chain up 3 and we're going to do 4 double crochets, that's 4 treble crochets UK, into that same single crochet. Remember, the chain 3 counts as your 5th double crochet for this beginning shell. So I've done my 5, and now what I'm going to do is we're going to go to that shell next to it, the one in the previous row we just done, and you're going to look for the 3rd double crochet, that's the treble crochet for the UK. So you have 2 blanks here, 4 and 5. You don't want to go into those 2, make sure you've got 4 and 5 stitched left, and you want to go into that 3rd one, and you're just going to do your single crochet or UK double crochet into that. So you go through the stitch, yarn over, come back through, yarn over, and go through both the loops. And so now we've single crocheted into the top of the previous row's shell, and we're going to do that each time. It's always into the middle of the shell, and we're always going to work our shells into the previous row's single crochet, and that way they end up nesting in between each other, and it gives it that very pretty look. So you probably guessed it by now, the next thing I'm going to do is do 5 double crochets, so that's 5 treble crochets UK, into that single crochet from the previous round. And this is the pattern we're going to repeat over and over and again until we've got to the row count that we want. In this size, the row count we want to get up to is 6. So I have to check my notes beside me to give the correct row counts because I'm filming several of these videos, so I've got to make sure I give the right one. So for this size we want 6 shells. rows, and I'll show you how to count them in a second. Just going to keep going around doing our 5 double crochets or 5 treble crochet shells into the single crochet, and then the single crochet or UK double crochet into the top of the 3rd double crochet shell from the previous round. As you can see, it's reasonably easy to adjust the size you need for these, so that you can make them work to the size you need if you need small or bigger. You just need to make sure that you have the stitches count so that you can do 1 set of shells and 1 single crochet, as well as your skip 2s, so that's why you use 6. I'm hoping the sizes that I've come up with will be enough to fit most of you. I haven't worked out the gauge just yet, but I will hopefully have the gauge wrote down on the actual pattern and in the description of the videos for you, and how much yarn you need for each one. So we're almost at the end of this round, and then I can show you what that looks like, and then you'll be able to do the rest of the rows. When I do mine off camera, you can do yours, and then you can meet me back to do the next set of shaping rounds. So you should finish with a single crochet, UK double crochet in the top of your previous row shell, and then you're going to slip stitch into the top of that chain 3 again. There we go. So this is what we have so far. As you see, we still have 6 shells. Now what you can see, if I pull this one up, hopefully you can see, is you can see the shells, and the way you can count the rows is they actually go in a diagonal either way. But so down here we can see this is the first row, this set of rows, so that's 1 row, and then that's 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So we want a total of 6, which will actually be 3 shell rows there and 3 shell rows there, right beside each other, but I find it easier to count on the diagonal. And then we're going to go into the shaping of the wrists. So I will meet you back here after we've done 6 total rows. So that's the setup row and 5 full pattern rows, okay? Okay, so we've now got our 6 total rows, so this is our bottom shell here, so it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Okay, so 3 there and 3 there. So now what we're going to do is do our wrist shaping here and here, and that's as simple as changing from 5 double crochets to 3 double crochets or treble crochets UK. Everything else is staying the same. So we're going to do 4 rows of 3 double crochets, so we'll have 10 rows when we finish. Rows 7 to 10 are the shaping for the wrist. So again, we're going to make sure we start in that single crochet or UK double crochet that we finished in, and then we're going to chain 3, and this time we're just going to do 2 double crochets or UK treble crochets into that stitch. Remember, the chain 3 counts as our first double crochet, so we've got 3 in there now. And now we're just going to carry on like we did before, so we're going to do a single crochet UK double crochet into the top of the 3rd shell of, try that again, brain, into the top of the 3rd stitch of the 5 stitch shell. Okay, and then obviously we're going to move on to that single crochet, and we're going to do 3 double crochets, that's UK treble crochets into there. So it's basically doing the same thing as we've just been doing, but we're just doing less stitches, and that's what brings it in, it pulls it in for you. So we're just going to do this for 4 rows. And this is a good way to create shaping without having to actually decrease and do 2 together or 4 together or whatever to create the shaping. This way around there's no major decreasing needed. So it's a really good way to shape products when you're doing the shell stitch. It's just increase or decrease the amount of stitches you do in your shell will naturally create the shaping for you. Once I've done this round, I can show you how it's already starting to shape. So remember, we're doing 3 double crochets, so that's 3 treble crochets UK, and then we're still doing our normal single crochet or double crochet UK into the top of the previous shell. Okay, so done the last one. We finish as usual in the top of the previous shell with our single crochet, UK double crochet. So we're just going to slip stitch into the top of our chain 3. And then make sure you put yourself back into that previous single crochet so that that's where you start. So I'll just put this down a minute. So can you see it's like it's already started to come in just slightly there, and that's all the shaping is just doing the 3 double crochets that brings it in. This looks wider because of the thumb, and I will show you how to do the thumb when we get there, but this side just gives a nice gentle curve just to gently shape around your wrist. So the next round is pretty much the same, but obviously we're going to go 1, 2, 3 minutes. We're going to go into the second stitch on those shells instead of the third, because obviously we only have 3. So it's basically the middle shell stitch every time when we do these. So obviously we're going to start with the chain 3 and the 2 double crochets, UK treble crochets, into that single crochet, UK double crochet, and then we're going to do our single crochet or UK double crochet into that second stitch. So otherwise the process is exactly the same. We continue working in the single crochets and the center stitch of the shell. So as I said, we're going to do 4 rounds. We're going to have a total of 10 rounds done when we've finished this section of shaping. So I will get on with this and I will meet you back when we have our 10 rounds, okay? Okay, so this is our 10 rows total. So we've got the 4 rows of the 3 shell stitch, which has really brought that in quite nicely. And then obviously you had your previous 6 rows. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the 5 stitch shell to bring it back out, but we're also going to start on the thumb shaping as well. So one of the stitches, the first one we do, is actually going to have an increase shell on it, and that's going to have 7. So let's do that first. So remember, be set up in that single crochet and do your usual chain 3. And this time we're going to do 6 double crochets, that's 6 UK treble crochets into this stitch, and this helps create the space for increasing for the thumb. So there's our 7. So the chain 3 is our first one, and then 6 more double crochets, UK treble crochets in that one stitch, and that's going to help us put extra on here. So we're going to have 2 single crochets and a shell stitch on this particular stitch to help with the shaping of the thumb. The rest of the pattern and the rest of the round is just the normal 5 shell stitch pattern. So I'm going to do our single crochet, UK double crochet into top of that second stitch, the middle of the 3 shell, remember, and then we're just going to do 5 double crochets in the single crochets around, remember. If you wanted to adjust this to have a longer part up your arm, you could do more rows of the 5 stitch shell before you go into the wrist shaping. So once you've got this pattern down, you should be able to adjust it to the size that you like and the length that you like. I am happy to answer any questions you may have though, so just pop them down in the comments. And if you want to show me any that you've made, then please do pop along to my Facebook group, Sonia Jones Crafts. I have a group and a page, so the group you can share all of your work on if you like, and any channels that you might have, crafty channels or any businesses, I'm happy for you to share any of them in the group as well. The group is linked in my About Me section on YouTube, so you should be able to find it reasonably easy. I'm also Sonia Jones Crafts on Instagram if you'd like to find me on there. I'm on TikTok as Sonia Jones Crafts as well, but I'm not very active on there. I must do better. Okay, so we'll slip stitch into the top of chain 3 again to finish and put ourselves back into that single crochet. Okay, so we're going to do our normal 5 shell stitch into this single crochet, so we'll just do that. So that's chain 3 and then do 4 double crochets or UK treble crochets. And then obviously this is the 7 increase shell that we did, so this is a little different on here. What we're going to do is we're going to do our single crochet or UK double crochet into the second stitch, and then we're going to do our shell into the 4th stitch and another single crochet into the 6th stitch. Okay, so I'm just going to do a single crochet into that second stitch. Then we skip one and we do 3 double crochets. We're doing a 3 scale stitch in here, so just do 3 double crochets into the 4th stitch of the previous round, and then we're going to skip one again, and into the 6th stitch we're going to do that single crochet or double crochet UK. So as you can see, we have in that 1 shell we have a single crochet, a 3 shell and another single crochet, and that again is helping create the increase we need for the thumb, because it just fits up around that bit. And now we're back to doing the same 5 shell stitch all the way around, so just back to the basic repeat pattern again. Don't forget that YouTube does have a speed feature to control the speed of this video. You can either slow it down or speed it up if you need to. I can't meet everyone's requirements for speed, so please do use the YouTube speed changer for the videos in order to watch at a pace you like, instead of just commenting that it's too fast. Use the slow down speed, that's what it's there for. I try to go at a pace that's going to be suitable for most people, but some like it faster and some like it slower, and I can't do a video fast and a video slow. It takes way too long to do videos at every pace that people like. So use the tools available to you to make it more suitable to your pace. Okay, so now we finished the round. As usual, we've slip stitched into the top of the chain 3, and we've gone back into that single crochet to work our round. Now you'll notice, as with the nature of crochet, even doing full rounds and not spiraling, it still spirals and moves back. So what you need to do is make sure you can recognise where your increase is for your thumbs, so that you know where to skip when you're doing your round. So you can see here that that's your increase 7, and directly in the middle of that is a 3 shell in a row full of 5 shells. So that should help you find where you're going to want to skip at some point. So you're just going to keep working that up. So as you can see here, you'll have your 7 shell. I don't know if I can lay it flat for you a minute. So there's your 7 shell, and there's your 3 shell in the middle of that 7 shell before the rest of the pattern goes on, and that's where we've skipped. Can you see that? So that's how you're going to be able to read it. It's kind of the odd shell out in this particular row. Okay, so we're now just going to go back to doing more rounds of the 5 shell. So for this one, obviously it's still ever so slightly different because we've got the 3 shell to go into in there instead of the 5 shell, but otherwise it's the same 5 shell pattern. So chain 3 and do 4 double crochets in your first one. My yarn is running all over the place. And obviously you're going to do your single crochet into the top of the shell, and then this, remember, you've got your single crochet on that 7 before your chain 3, so make sure you go into that single crochet there and do your 5. And then obviously you're going to go into the second stitch of that chain 3 and do your single crochet or UK double crochet, and then make sure you find that remaining single crochet that's on that shell of 7 to do your next 5 shell on. Just make sure that you don't skip anything then and gets the stitch count to the correct we need for the thumb increase, because they can get a little hidden being spread tightly packed in at that point. Then back to working the normal 5 stitch pattern. That's the end of this round. So slip stitch into the top of that chain 3, then realign yourself back into that single crochet. Okay, so now if I just pull that out a minute, you can see the shaping of the thumb coming out there. Look. So that side's just a gentle one, but this one's really starting to come out past. And that's the last increases for the thumb we're going to do. Now we're just going to do up. So we've done here, and this bit is just actually the same normal increase pattern, but because we've got the extra stitches in, it's still going to continue angling out for you. So by now we've done 13 rows. So what we're going to do, we're going to do rows 14 to 18, so 5 rows of the normal 5 shell pattern now. So we're just going to get straight on and do that. So this is the normal 5 shell pattern that we've been doing, so you probably don't need to see me do all that, so I'll do that off camera, but just remember we want to do up to 18 rows total, so another 5 rows, okay? So I'll see you back when we've done that. Okay guys, so now we have a total of 18 rows. We've just finished doing the 5 straight rows of the 5 shell stitch. As you see, the thumb shaping is coming along nicely there, but it's now time to skip and create that thumb hole. So we're going to be skipping here and working for the bit that goes around your hand here. Now obviously you need to know where your thumb is, so remember, look for that 7 with the 3, and you want to fold that down, and you can see here we have 2 shells and a single crochet, and that's what we're going to skip, is the 2 shells and the single crochet. So when we get round to that point I will show you what we do. So we're going to continue doing the normal 5 shell pattern at this point, so make sure you're into that single crochet that we worked last, and do your normal chain 3 and 4 double crochets or treble crochets UK. Just keep going round. As you can probably see, once you've made a few of these, it becomes quite simple to see where things are. But don't panic if you can't see straight away, you will get the hang of it, I promise. It's just a matter of learning to read your stitches, and that takes practice. So don't worry if you're still struggling, just bear with it, have the confidence that you will get it done. And if you've really stuck, pop a question down below in the comment section and I will try to answer it for you. Right there, so got a couple more. We just want to slip stitch into, not slip stitch, single crochet or UK double crochet into that shell. Okay, so we're going to work in this last single crochet here, our 5 shell. I'll tell you how many shells we've done in just a second, so you know where you're stopping if you can't quite read your stitches yet. Okay, so we've done 1, 2, 3, 4, we've done 5 shells on this round, and that's where we're going to start skipping, okay? So we're going to skip this shell here and this single crochet here and this shell here, and we're actually going to work into that single crochet there. So we're going to do a shell, but first chain 1 and then skip over those ones and do your normal 5 shell pattern into this single crochet, which is the last shell pattern of the row, because we've only got a single crochet or UK double crochet to go into the top of the previous shell, and then we're finished on this row. try not to do too many double crochets like I just did then. So we're going to single crochet or UK double crochet on top of that, and then slip stitch into the top of the chain 3. And again, make sure you set yourself into that single crochet. I'll just pull that out so you can have a look. So we are back to having 6 shells again, as you can see, and this is where we've skipped for your thumb. So if I can just pop it on, you can see how it sits across there, and that's where your thumb sits. Okay, so nice and simple to do. So we're just going to work the last 3 rounds along there, and then we're done. You can do more rounds on this point if you like. I do 3 just because I think 3 looks nice enough and fits where I like them to fit. But if you want to do more to cover more of your fingers, just follow the pattern until you get to the length that you want. So pretty simple to adjust. So we're going to do the normal 5 shell pattern around for 3 rows, okay? But this first row obviously will be slightly different because we have to work over that skipped chain 1 that we did. So just do your normal 5 around until we get to that chain 1 space, and then I'll show you what to do when we get there. You guys can't see, but I'm actually currently playing Yarn Chicken. For those who don't know what Yarn Chicken means, I don't know if I'm going to have enough yarn before I get to the end. I should have weighed it before I started, but, well, I'm never that organised, as most of you probably know by now. Okay, so just got to that chain 1 that we did when we skipped over for the thumb, and all we're going to do is do a shell over that chain 1, so into that space, because obviously the last one we did was a single crochet UK double crochet into a shell. So we're going to keep with pattern and just do 5 double crochets around that stitch, so we're going into the space rather than into the stitch. At which point we're just going to single crochet or UK double into the top of that shell and slip stitch into the top of the chain 3 like usual. I'll just show you. So we have the extra shell in the thumb gap there, and that just brings us up like that. Okay, so at that point this is how it's sitting with 2 shells matching and 2 shells folded. Okay, so the next round and the round after that, so the remaining 2 rounds will be just the normal 5 shell pattern around. So I will do them and I will meet you back here. Hey guys, so I'm literally about to lose at Yarn Chicken. I still have 1 round to go and this is all the yarn I got, so I thought this might be a good time just to show you how I join in a new ball of yarn. So pop your ends opposite like this, and then you're going to tie this end around that end. So just pick up, take it so it's looped around, so it's only looped around there, look, and then you're tying it around itself. So just tying your knot around like that, and then we're going to do the same with this one. So we're going to take this one, I'm going to take it over wrapping around, and then we're just going to tie it around itself, so this is loose. Then you can pull them tight, and you really want to make sure that you gave that really good tight pull, at which point you can then either leave the ends on and weave them in, or if you're sure it won't come undone, you could snip these off. Now for less slidey yarns I'd snip these off, but this is quite a slidey yarn for me. Even though it's got sequins and it does stop it sliding too far, it can often come undone, I found. So I'm going to leave the ends on and I'm just going to work them in. So what we're going to do, this is the last round, I'll show you what I do to make sure those ends get worked in. Ideally you'd want a couple of rounds left so that you can work them up and down a row as you go, but I can't do that, so. But this pair is actually for me, so it's not the end of the world if it's not 100% secure. I needed a new pair for myself, so I wanted these ones for me. So we're just going around, so as you can see we've got to that section, and what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to work that into the stitch so that they're both secure. So use that as one thread, so wrapping around and pulling through. It's a little fiddly because it's thicker. You want to make sure those two things stay quite tight and around, and once you work that, I just then work over them, so I do my normal stitch and I've trapped them underneath and around, and again I'm going to work them into it, so yarn over, go through. It's a little fiddly, but it's just a good way to make sure that they're all in. And then make sure your ends are out. If they're, that one we can trim later, but this one's a bit longer, so we'll just work that one around and trap it down again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then shift that out the way. It's now secured in place, so you can worry about trimming them off when we finish. So we're just going to finish that last row. So I will finish this last row and come back to you. Okay, so I've done that last row, so I'm just going to finish off. So I've slip stitch into the top of that chain 3, and then I'm going to yarn over and pull through my loop and leave it there for a minute. Cut your tail ends, cut your yarn, leave a good amount to weave in. If you're using sequin yarn, I usually find it's better to remove that sequin as well, because it gets a bit of a pain to go through. So once that's woven in, no one will see that. So you're going to pull that through and just give it a nice good tug to make sure it's secure. And then I'm going to weave in the end. So I use this nice squishy eyed needle, I prefer that. But you can use any yarn needle you like, really. Okay, you're going to want to work on the inside so that your ends are hidden. And you're just going to work up and down and through the stitches. You want to go through the yarn as well, because that keeps it even more secure. You want to travel in different directions, so go one way for a little while and then switch and go a different way, so that that way as the item gets moved around, the stitch doesn't tend to get pulled out because it's already going in multiple directions. Make sure you're not bunching any of it, but you just want to make sure you work around in through and then snip your end, and that's your ending. Now obviously we've got these, so we're just going to snip these little ends from when we tied in our yarn a minute ago. These are nice and secure because I've put them into the stitch. If you haven't put them into the stitch, you'll want to weave them around just to make sure they stay in, but as they're part of the stitch they don't tend to come undone. Now obviously we've got this end to weave in, so just remember when we did the foundation, the chainless start, we've joined that top row, but we need to join this bottom row. So we're just going to weave in next to it, tie a little knot to secure them in, so that way you get a nice neat edge going around. It obviously has a little waviness because of the stitch, but otherwise it's basically straight. So I'll just do the same as I did before, work up and down and weave in your end. Remember to try to go through your yarn as well, so don't worry about splitting the yarn, it's better for you. Ooh, I forgot to take off the sequin. As you can see, it gets a little stuck if there's a sequin, especially if you're going through yarn, so be sensible and remember to cut it off if you're using sequin yarn. There we go. Snip that off. And there we have your finished wrist warmer. So obviously I still need to weave in that end, but there's your pair of wrist warmers. So pop these ones on because these ones are mine, so I can show you what they look like on. And there's still enough room to go over your watch because there's give in the stitches, but there we go. So it just fits nicely around without bagginess, but it still has room for your watch. And I have a Fitbit, so it's quite a chunky watch. If you're wearing a smaller, delicate watch, it won't be so bad. But there we go. So this is your what size are these ones? This is the small, and these ones are the extra small, which are just slightly tighter than these ones. And these ones are good for most ladies' hands, but bear in mind I am 5 nothing, so I am quite short. So you might want to go with the bigger size that I will show in the next video. Okay, but I hope that all helps and you enjoy making these, and I'll see you all soon. Take care.